This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, folks. So for the 2022-11 release, we didn't fork the branch yet. We are still preparing. That's one update for the 2022-11 release. Second thing I want to remind you guys is, the one summit is hosted by Linux Foundation. Will happen from November 15 to November 17. So this session is free for the speaker, but for the non-speaker, it will charge some money. I just want to remind you guys, if you want to join, just you can register and participate that one summit. That's the first SONiC event collaborated with the Linux Foundation after we move to the Linux Foundation. Okay. For today's HLD, we will review the the time-based ACL check. So it's contributed by Microsoft. This one is come from Microsoft. Yeah, I see a question on this one. Okay, I will hand over this to Shiyan. Where is Shiyan? Shiyan, are you there? I think I see Shiyan. Oh, okay. So Shiyan, please go ahead. You are the presenter now. Hey, Shiyan. Hello?
Yeah, Yangzhou, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I cannot hear Shiyan. Shiyan, can you hear us? Oh, 1 second. Let me pin Shiyan. Okay, I guess Shiyan may have some device issues. I cannot hear Shiyan. Huh? Okay, so while Shiyan, fix his device issues, I also want to remind you guys, please accelerate the code PR review for the 2022-11 release. And also, please start to submit your idea for the next release, which is the 2023-05. Please also use the new Linux Foundation groups.io, the new mail list. I think there is a mail sent out to the previous Google group mail address with the guidance. But the SONiC project Google group is deprecated. So please use the Linux Foundation. Hey, Xian. Hello? I still cannot hear Xian, so okay. Kanjin, are you okay to present this HLD? Hey, Xian, we are seeing your Teams notes. Okay.
Uh, One suggestion to Shiyan is if you have another device like a phone, maybe you can call in through the phone to use that as your voice input device while you present through here.
I think the lessons learned, maybe in the future we should firstly try the device. Oh, I see Wang Xin is in this meeting. So Xin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think we can try one more time. If it still doesn't work, is it okay for you to cover this session?
Probably not. I'm not prepared for this session.
I see.
So Xian spent his time on the design. I only briefly reviewed the design, but not in a good position to present it.
Okay, let's have one more time. Otherwise, I think we need to find another time. We have so many people in the meeting, so sorry, guys. Okay.
I'm sorry, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Xian.
Yeah, I'm calling from the phone. Sorry, there may be network issue with my computer or whole network. I'm very sorry.
Okay, so I think you can present now. Yeah, I can see your screen. Please go ahead. So by the way, one question. So how different between your slides and your HLD document?
I'm sorry?
I mean, the HLD and your, the PPT and your HLD document, is that quite different or they are same?
They are the same, and I created the PPT from the HLD.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So everyone, my name is Xian Wang, and I'm a software engineer for Microsoft. Today I will spend about 15 minutes to go through the high-level design of time-based echo feature. So sorry for the delay, and let's get started. The current design of the SONiC data plane echo supports only persistent rules. That is, once the rule is applied to SONiC device, it will be there until manually removed. So this HLD or this document proposes an enhancement to the current echo, which adds a time range to the echo rule, and the rule will be only activated during the specific time range. So here is the requirement for the time-based echo. So the first one is the echo rule is added with the start timestamp and then the end timestamp. The second one is the echo rule is removed after the end timestamp. The third one is the timestamp with echo rule can be updated. The fourth one is the echo rule with the timestamp is kept after reboot. So here is the echo loader. We change the echo loader script to pass a new field named time range as shown in the example. You can see we add a time range field in the echo entry. So it will contain a config, and the config will contain start time and end time fields. This entry will be created in a new table named time-based echo rule in the config DB, and the config DB will be saved after the reboot. So let's see the config DB. A new table, as we just see, time-based echo rule is introduced to the config DB to record the echo rule with the start timestamp and the end timestamp. And the new table contains all the fields of a normal echo rule, and the two new fields are added: start time and end time. And you can see from the example,
One question over here. What is the format of the start time and end time? Is it epoch or whatever the standard time formats available? We can have it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you quite
So
well.
what is the format of the time, start time and end time? Here you are giving it as the epoch, right? What else format does it support?
The start time format is we currently only support the let's say how to say
But
So is this the millisecond or is the second? I think it's a number in your sample.
it
yeah,
is
that's the epoch time,
from
right?
the 1970 June the 1st, 1970. The unit is second.
But
Yeah, I think
shouldn't
that
it?
this is a Unix timestamp, and the unit is a seconds. And currently, the design was we only support it in the Unix timestamp number in string format. Yeah, we will not support
It's
other
not super
format.
helpful for the. It's not super helpful for the user, right? And I believe this is like one-time installation, right? Because Unix timestamp just increases. It's not like if I need to install the rule every day between like let's say 8 a.m. to 12 noon, it's not possible with this design, correct?
Yes, there's one time. So this is absolute timestamp feature, and yeah, there is a plan to support the periodic timestamp, but it is not in the scope of this HLD.
Okay, then
So from this echo, it will one time. Yeah.
okay, can you then let us know what is the use case? Because if it is one time, can't the regular ACL loader be used to install and remove the rules externally instead of having to populate these two fields? Because it becomes quite a overhead for the user to calculate this time and then program it, right?
Yeah, for this is for security concern, because once you added a regular echo rule to the SONiC device, until you remove it, it will always active, and if you allow some package to be forwarded, it will also always be allowed. But sometimes if the management plan is down, but the data plan is good, in that case there is no chance to update the echo rule, to remove the echo rule from the SONiC. So we hope some rule have some like a timeout mechanism. Then we can securely add this echo rule to our config DB and expect, even we not operate on this echo, even we not remove it manually, it can be deactivated automatically. That is the use case.
Okay. One thing which I tend to disagree is when the management plane or maybe the applications themselves are down, I believe the switch cannot operate. For example, let's assume the ARC agent is down. In that case, the switch will reinitialize. So I don't see a use case over that. And second thing is, which I am concerned over here, is using the epoch time format, right? The general user who configures SONiCs or may not be actual developers or engineers who may be aware of this. Instead, I would prefer to have like a regular UTC based or standard time based format, which we can internally convert to epoch using the API. So the whatever we present to as the user interface should be simpler. I think this is a little complicated for any regular user.
I think that is a different use case, because if you want to add some regular echo rules, there is some need. Maybe we want to open the access for some specific user,
So sorry. Actually, I have same question. I think why not reuse the existing echo rule, add the fields like optional, so that it can be enabled and disabled, right? So why we introduce a new echo rule? Why right? So, and also I think the comment on the timestamp I think makes sense, right? So we should be able to support a multiple format, user friendly, right? So not just one format. But why we're trying to introduce a new echo table instead of reusing the existing echo table? It doesn't have those optional fields and doesn't do the time-based echo, right? So.
The reason why we introduce a new table is that this table just record the time-based echo rule. This rule will not take effect until another script put this rule to another table to make them run in the data plane.
Okay, can you explain one more time? I didn't quite get it. Yeah.
Okay. If we put this new echo rule to the current echo rule table, it will take effect immediately. Right?
No, I thought you will have a timestamp, optional fields, right? If those fields are there, then you will do with the time-based. But if those options is not there, then treat it as a regular echo, right? So.
From the current software architecture, if we put the echo rule in the current echo rule table, they will take effect immediately. We didn't have a chance to control when they will take effect, when will expire. We didn't have that software mechanism to do that.
No, but when you put the echo rule here, right? So you will have, if you want them to be time-based, you will have those timestamps there, and then occasion the AWSs can look at and say, okay, here for this echo rule I have timestamp, so I will do it, install the echo, within that time range, right? So. Maybe it's something I didn't quite understand, that when you say you didn't have chance to what?
Yes, I understand that we can do some code changes in the org agent, but currently, in order to meet the internal schedule, we have to put another helper Python script to pass the new time-based echo rule table. So we didn't change the occasion C++ code.
I'm not sure whether we can close this question. So Xian, I think you get the comments, right? So just reuse the current ACL tables to support this time-based rule. I think that's the comments from the community. Can you just evaluate this one offline to see, whether we can reuse the current table instead of creating a new table? Is that fine?
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So I also have one question. So if, let's say, you created a new table, please make sure you define the YANG model for this table. So all the config DB need to have all the tables in the config DB must have a YANG table. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. And the code changes should be completed, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's the reminder.
Hi, Shian. This is Govind from Marvel. Just one question here. What is the expectations from the platform for the start time and end time for this new ACL configuration?
The new configuration.
Expectation from platform in the sense ASIC, right? What is it supposed to do? Like ASIC, would it receive these start and end times, or NOS itself will manage this? Like it will configure at the given time and it will try to delete at the verge of the end time, right?
Yes.
So ASIC don't need to act on these things, right? Am I clear with the question?
You mean?
Yeah, I think you are clear. I think no, there's no new side attribute being introduced, right? So this is a pure NOS feature, I believe.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But I also have a question, on this management of this timestamp. It really requires this time to be synchronized between the switch and your management system. What if the time is not synchronized? There's some issue on the time synchronization. How do we manage that? Suppose you are trying to install it from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., but the switch timestamp is not synchronized with management system. So how do we deal with that kind of issue? Are we saying that we have to get time synchronized?
Yeah, we think of that question. However, we have the assumption that the time on the switch should be synchronized because we thought the data center should be somehow this is a very basic requirement for the network device to be synchronized.
Yeah, I want to add some word to Xian's comments. The time in the config DB is absolute time, but we can provide some user CLI to provide some method to add this time-based echo rule based on relative time, such as from now to 2 hours later. Like that. So for that use case, we don't require the time is synchronized with the management system.
No, I think.
But for other usage cases, we require the time is synchronized because this is very user specific echo rule. So if someone wants to have the echo active during some time, the switch must have the time synchronized.
No, but I think, Jing, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the relative time is even tricky, right? Because if somebody does a config save and reload, then every time it does that, it will install the echo, right?
Yeah, I mean the CLI means when you call a CLI, it will generate absolute time based on when the CLI being called. So if someone say, hey, I want to add an echo rule from now to 2 hours later, the CLS implementation will add an echo rule to config DB. Like start time will use the current time, and end time will be current time at 2 hours. Yeah, so the echo rule in config DB will be still in absolute format, absolute time format, but we can provide some convenience to user.
But add to Prince's comment, let's say like during the start time, the box wasn't up or like it's booting up. So what are we going to do? Is the ARC agent is going to look back and say like then so walk through all the ACL rule whose end time is not done, but the start time has started, and then replay the ACL rule? Is that what is going to happen?
Sorry. So the question is for when the echo rule will be activated and when it will be dropped.
Okay, when the ACL start time happens, during the time, let's say the box is not ready to take that ACL rule for whatever reason. If the syncd is going to restart or something, and the ASIC is not ready to take that thingy at that point of time. So what happens is that we're going to put in some pending list and then replay it. What exactly we're going to do?
I think the logic behind this echo rule is how to decide when we put the echo to the ASIC. Now, so compared to the regular echo rule, we add an additional condition before add it to ASIC. So if the syncd restarted, it will collect the config DB and sync the config to the ASIC again. During that time, we will check the start time and the end time. And if it hits the time window, we will add it to ASIC. But and if it not hits the time window, we will just ignore it.
Okay.
One question here. So if there are multiple time-based ACLs which are expired, so we will end up in walking through all those entries, right? Even though it is not going to be added to the ASIC, we will waste cycles in walking through those entries, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, we
So
will still walk through these echo rules. So we want to have some clean up mechanism to clean up time-based echo rules that will never be hit.
So this won't be removed until the user removes from the time-based ACL table, right? Or is it like it will be removed once it expires? Hello.
Yeah. We need user to remove them to the config DB.
Okay.
Sorry, do we use the timer wheel to figure out which ACLs need to be parsed instead of walking through all the ACL? Is there a mechanism to optimize this?
I'm not sure it has this been mentioned in this HLD, but we do have some discussion regarding the optimization. Because for some style roles, we just like the previous question, we will still walk through them, and that will have some additional overheads. So to optimize this, we can have some like clean up process to clean up style echo rules automatically in the background. That will be much helpful to reduce the overheads.
I think
Does that
one
answer
quick
your
question.
Yeah.
So here, whenever you configure this time-based ACL, right, it will be effective immediately, or you will always the requirement is to start this time-based ACL after some time or something. What is the exact requirement? I just wanted to understand. You have start time and end time, so meaning you want to have the ACL, getting applied after a few hours or something. Is that the requirement, or you want to apply the time-based ACL right away for some duration, whatever the duration you want, and then after the duration you will basically remove that entry from the config DB. What exactly the requirement?
Yeah, the requirement is that we want to how to say, if we have a host, we want to protect it, we can set a default rule to block all traffic toward to the host. But we also want to provide a flexibility to allow some specific user to access the host in some specific time window. Like if the user applied a request and we can.
No, sorry. I guess the question is that I guess what Wenke wants to know is that when you insert those echo rule, usually for your use case, do you expect them to, take effect immediately? For example, the control plan, does it have the, when they try to install the echo, they will tell you when to install the echo. It's not like they always tell you to delay, 1 hour later to install the echo, right? So the use case would be.
Sorry, Guohan, your voice is broken. Hi, Guohan. Yeah, I think for the question, the start time, end time indicates when we want to have the echo being active. So so the requirements is to active this echo rule during the time window. If the system time is in the time range, then we want to have the echo installed. If the system time is out of this time range, we want to the system ignore this echo, and or if the echo has installed already, we want to remove it. Yeah, that's the requirements.
Again, I mean, I think we talked enough about the synchronization issue. I just wanted to know, for some reason, the SONiC switch is not synchronized, and you're trying to apply the configuration. You will end up having the problem. You will ignore it. You will end up ignoring the configuration itself, correct? So, do you want to handle all those cases, because time synchronization is not really a dependency for this feature to work, correct?
Yeah.
So can we change the design such a way, even if the time differences are there, not synchronized, and you want to have this rule effective for this particular time window, whatever? Can you make sure of that? I just, I want to see the scenarios mentioned for a given scenario, and this is the time window, how things would work end to end, from the configuration to the config being applied. Pushed to the ASIC DB.
Yeah, it seems that the synchronization is required. Otherwise, the network operator will have to look at multiple switches and apply those configurations and ensure that it is removed the ACL entry at the time that they need. And the switch has to be synchronized with that time that they have assigned, right, from their system. And that should be across switches. So
okay.
No. I think maybe Venke has a point, right? So maybe we should change it in a way that doesn't depend on that time synchronization to be working on those switches, right? So for example, when we insert the echo rule at a particular moment that we get that timestamp, and the user always tell okay, how long they want the echo to install. But when you get that requirement, you calculate the end time and put that on the config DB, so you won't have the problem, to when you reboot, you reinstall it, right? So, but you always, basically user don't get chance to specify the start time, right? So then if user don't have the start time, then you can always get your current time and add this, how long this echo need to be processed, right? So
there is definitely no need to have a special synchronization between the switches just to retrieve something like the epoch time. Previously, I used to use a different name. I forget that. But if we use something like epoch time, then we are always sure that this is where it starts and it will be more accurate. There is no other synchronization needed between switches, but as long as we at least have the epoch time, so we know exactly when it is starting, then we know that it will be calculated based on what is required.
I think Jing mentioned that it is the start time is 1970 and then it gets incremented, right? I think that's what being followed here. It looks like. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the start time here is just a time step. So for the user aspect, we can provide the convenient by just like Guohan said, we can have a CLI to like the user want to add want some echo to take effect in next 2 hours. We can have that CLI, and the CLI will have will set up the config and use current time step as start time and end time to and add 2 hours as the end time. Then we don't need to carry the synchronized issue, but that is very scenario specific. We can only use that way in that use scenario. But for this design, we have the absolute start time and absolute end time in the config. Then we can keep the rule behaviors in the system consistently even we reboot the switch. That's the reason why we use absolute time step here.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I think you mentioned when we restart the switch, right? I mean, if the configs are present in the config DB, you'll save it in the config DB JSON and then restore, or because you do mention that if the time-based ACL, the timer is expired, you'll just remove that from the config DB, correct?
We haven't introduced the mechanism to remove the stale time-based echo rule from config DB, but yeah, that is possible. It will only impact the performance, but it will not impact the data plan behaviors.
So sorry, then if an echo rule is already past the end time, you don't consider that removing it? That's by definition that's a stale, isn't it?
If the echo rule already have an end time, that depends on different case to decide if we want to remove it. If the time-based echo rule has been added to ASIC sometimes, and when the system checks that this echo rule has expired, then we will remove it. And if
so let me give you an example. I set a whole bunch of rules. I say start time half an hour from now, and then I go ahead and somebody go ahead and change the system time. That start time becomes sometime in the past. So what happens to all this bunch of things? Are they considered stale and they're gonna sit there?
Yeah, if the config is still there, the system will reconsider all the time-based echo rules. Some echo rule might be actived, and some echo rule may be removed. Yeah, that depends on how the current time, if the current time is matching the time window in the rule. So if you change the system time, the echo rules might be reactive, unexpected. That's possible.
But then if there is stale or inactive, then somebody who's gonna do the cleanup? You expect the user to go back and clean them up, or the design of this feature will do the cleanup?
In current design, we don't introduce that cleanup procedure, but so it has to be user to remove them.
So Jing,
another
like in this
question.
case, like there could be some kind of inconsistency, right? So at some point, config.db will have time-based ACL rule, and if the time is stale, then you will still keep it, right?
Yeah, we will
So
still keep it.
Yeah, so is it possible to just keep the time-based ACL rule always in config.db and just modify only in the app.db?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So can we keep the time-based ACL rule in config.db all the time and just update the app.db based on start and end time?
But wouldn't it give a wrong information? Like when you say it is exists in config.db, it is implied that this particular ACL is applied in the hardware, right?
No, but there is a
Shouldn't
start
we
and end
remove
time.
proactively from the config.db? Yeah.
But you have
Yeah,
inconsistency,
but start and
right?
end time, if you see, right? Yeah, but if you see the start and end time, let's say it's 8:30 and then say 9:30 is the end time, right? It is subjected to the date. We are not having the date, right? So the subsequent day, once this rule is applied and deleted from the hardware, in the subsequent day, we will see this rule in the config.db. That means it gives a impression that this particular ACL rule is configured in the hardware, isn't it?
It need not be,
During the
right?
same time.
The config is valid only until the specific time. Maybe we could have a show CLI where we can also show in the show ACL CLI whether it is expired or active. And we shouldn't be modifying config.db. It's only the user's responsibility to modify config.db. Internally, any system daemon should not update config.db.
Yeah.
But this is not a recurring, right? That is what they have
This
mentioned.
is not
It is
recurring,
only one
correct.
time. So if it is a one time, yeah, it's a one time. There's no point in keeping it in config.db, right?
So that brings me back to the first question, right? For this feature, I'm trying to understand the use case at all. If the user can externally install and remove it, why do it? And the other thing is it adds load on the Arc agent. So if there is a start and end time specified, it means that Arc agent should at least poll on some regular interval to see if the time is expired. Given the fact that Arc agent is already overloaded, I'm not sure if it is a good idea to have it in the Arc agent.
I think, Sudarshan, today the ACL configs are directly going to the Arc agent without any manager involvement, right?
Exactly. So that's why my concern too, right? If we have like 1,000 roles with a lot of timestamp specified, it may add a overhead to the Arc agent, which is already pretty overloaded now. So if it is going to be a one-time feature, well, why do we involve the Arc agent at all? So can't the management do the installation and removal? The only use case which they mentioned was management plane being down. But in that case, if the management plane is down, the switch is pretty much unstable, which is not the use case I think we should be building a solution towards.
Yeah, I think the management. Sorry, Prince, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think I agree with Sudarshan. I don't think Arc agent should be having a timer to start and poll this ACL rule. So it should be probably outside of Arc agent to add and delete these rules.
I believe there is in the HLD there's a phase one. I don't know. There's some kind of a manager being spawned, and then that will handle the configuration and then push it to the application DB. I don't know what is that. What the proposal is, because that looks like kind of different from what we have today for the ACL configurations.
Sorry, folks, time checking. So we only have 6 minutes left. I don't know, Xian, how many pages do you still have? Maybe you can quickly go through those ones. So people can leave comments
Okay,
online.
sure. Okay, then let me have a make this quick. So we add another script to the SWSS container, and this script is started after the occasion and check the just we talk about the timestamps of the time-based cycle rules. By default, every 10 seconds, it will walk through all the entries in the time-based echo rule table in the config DP. And the most important is that the new effective echo rule are added to the existing app DB, and the expired echo rule will be deleted both from the config DB and app DB.
I think this is where the thing is, right? There is no app ACL rule today, I guess. So I'm not sure what is existing.
And other thing is, I'm not sure if you can delete directly from the config DB. Config DB is some user given configuration. You cannot blindly vanish it from the config DB. The user has configured this rule is valid only until now. You can remove it from the app DB, and then when the shows CLI, you can mention it as expired. I don't think internal application should edit the config DB.
Oh, yeah, I understand your point. So that is, yeah, there is a discussion internally with my colleagues. We can change the behavior after the review. So yeah, we will discuss this after this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it can be there if there is a recurring, time window that you want to have this rule active, right? I mean, that's kind of a static configuration. We can have it in a config DB. But if it's a one-shot, one-time thing that you want to have it, then you don't need it in the config DB.
Yes. So let's move on. So the AppDB will use the existing table, echo rule table in the AppDB to activate an echo rule. And the echo rule format is the same as it in the config DB. So there is no format change in this part. We just use the AppDB to temporarily save the effective echo rule. So this is the last one. The workflow will be start from the echo loader. The echo loader, the input is the JSON format of the time-based echo rule, and the echo loader will create entry in time-based echo rule table to the config DB. And the next step is the time-based echo manager D process. It will periodically fetch from the config DB and periodically fetch from the app DB. So it will compare the timestamp with the current system time. So it will delete the expired entry from the config DB. So this behavior we can discuss offline, and it will also.
Yeah, I mean, why do we need to periodically fetch the? I think one quick question: why do we need to periodically fetch from the ACL manager DB? You can subscribe for the notification from the config DB, and you can act on it, right?
Yes, that will do. But because this is a Python process, so we simply periodically fetch the config DB. Yeah, that will do. We can subscribe the table and receive the notification.
Where is this process running? Which container is? Where is the time-based ACL Manager D process running? Where is it running? Which container? Which module?
Is it
So
inside?
I can
SWS
just
is responsible.
Time-based echo process. And the third column is a time-based echo manager process. So where is the process running?
Okay. We
Remember in the Swiss, right? Sorry, go ahead, Xian.
we think this is simply the way to make this feature work. We just put this manager D process, a very simple Python script to do the work.
Okay, I think we can move on. So yeah,
Okay,
already out of time. Yeah, please finish your
yeah, I think that is last part. After I delete the expired entry, we create a new entry in the FDB, and the FDB, the echo rule in the FDB will be pushed finally to the ASIC, so it will take effect in the data plane. Yeah, that's all for the whole workflow. Yes, that's all for the slides.
Okay, thank you, Xian. I think there are a lot of the questions and comments on the design. Thanks for the community. So please help to address those comments offline. And you can update the HLD document as well.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, folks. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.